The night sky above Kepler 442b was filled with colorful lights. It was the spring festival, and the whole colony was celebrating. Children ran through the streets with glowing sticks in their hands. Parents laughed and talked while eating sweet rice cakes. Music played from every corner of the settlement. June was 10 years old. He stood near the food stalls with his 3 friends, watching the fireworks explode above them. Yuna, the oldest at 12, was buying hot chocolate for everyone. Tae, only 8, was trying to climb a decorative pole to get a better view. Hana, 9 years old, stood quietly beside June, her dark eyes reflecting the colorful lights. Tae, get down from there, Yuna called out, walking back with 4 cups. You will fall and break something. Tae jumped down and grinned. I never fall. June took his cup and looked up at the sky. His father was somewhere up there, commanding a starship. Captain Wu Dae-sung was a hero to many people. But to June, he was just Dad. He missed him tonight. The first explosion was not a firework. It came from the eastern part of the settlement. A building collapsed in a ball of fire. Then another explosion. And another. People started screaming. The music stopped. The colorful lights suddenly looked wrong against the orange glow of burning buildings. What is happening? Hana whispered, grabbing June's arm. Yuna dropped the cups. Hot chocolate spilled on the ground. We need to find our parents. Now. But the crowd was already running in every direction. People pushed and shoved. Children cried for their mothers. June felt someone knock him sideways. He lost sight of Yuna for a moment, then grabbed her hand. Tae held onto his shirt. Hana stayed close behind. Then they saw them. The Vorath soldiers came down from the sky in small ships. They were tall, covered in dark green scales, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow in the darkness. They carried weapons that made no sound but dropped humans to the ground instantly. This way, June said, pulling his friends toward an alley. They ran. Behind them, they could hear the heavy footsteps of the Vorath soldiers. The aliens were rounding up people like animals. June saw his neighbor, old Mr. Park, get pushed into a line of prisoners. He saw a mother crying as soldiers took her baby from her arms. The alley led to a small storage building. June pushed open the door, and everyone rushed inside. They hid behind large boxes, breathing hard, trying to stay quiet. What do they want? Tae asked, his voice shaking for the first time. I do not know, Yuna admitted. She put her arm around him. But we need to stay hidden until help comes. Hana pointed at a small window near the ceiling. I can see ships. Many ships. This is a big attack. June's mind was racing. His father had told him about the Vorath. They were a powerful empire that looked down on humans. They thought humans were weak because they lived short lives and had soft skin. They did not understand why such a small species had spread across so many planets. The door exploded inward. 3 Vorath soldiers stood in the entrance, their yellow eyes scanning the darkness. One of them made a clicking sound with its throat. Another pointed directly at the boxes where the children were hiding. Come out, small ones, one soldier said in broken human language. We will not hurt. You come with us now. June stood up slowly. There was nowhere to run. Yuna stood beside him, pushing Tae and Hana behind her. Her face was pale but her eyes were steady. Leave us alone, she said. Our parents will come for us. The Vorath soldiers made a strange sound. It took June a moment to realize they were laughing. Human parents? One said. They cannot help. They are weak, like you. Come now. Do not make us carry you. They were taken to a large transport ship. Inside, there were other prisoners, mostly adults, sitting in rows with their hands bound. The children were put in a separate cell at the back. The walls were cold metal. The only light came from a small strip on the ceiling. Tae was crying now, trying hard not to make sound. Hana sat in the corner, hugging her knees. Yuna held Tae close and whispered comforting words. June stood at the cell door, looking out through the small window. A Vorath officer walked past. He was different from the soldiers. His scales were darker, and he wore a decorated uniform. He stopped when he saw June watching him. "Ah, the little ones," the officer said. He seemed pleased with himself. "I am Commander Rin. You are my special guests now. Human children will be very useful. Very easy to control, yes?" June said nothing. He just stared at the alien with calm eyes. Commander Rin seemed slightly confused by this. He had expected crying, begging, fear. Instead, this small human just looked at him like he was studying him, learning him. "Strange little creature," Rin muttered, then walked away. When the commander was gone, June turned to his friends. His face was serious. But there was something else there too. Something like determination. "I know that symbol on his uniform," June said quietly. "This is a military ship. They are taking us to their empire." "What do we do?" Hana asked. June sat down with them. "First, we watch. We learn their routines. We find their weaknesses." He looked at each of his friends. "My father always says that humans survived on Earth because we never give up. We adapt. We fight. We win." Yuna nodded slowly. "So we do not act like scared prisoners." "No," June agreed. "We act like survivors." Above them, the ship's engines roared to life. The floor vibrated as they lifted off from the colony. Through a tiny window, June watched his home get smaller and smaller until it disappeared among the stars. Somewhere out there, his father would learn what happened. And when he did, June knew with absolute certainty that nothing in the galaxy would stop him from coming. He just had to stay alive until then, and maybe, just maybe, cause some trouble along the way. General Keth had served the Vorath Empire for 200 years. He had fought in 37 wars. He had conquered 11 planets. He had seen things that would break the minds of lesser beings. Nothing scared him anymore, or so he thought. He sat in his command chair at the military station, reading through the mission reports from the raid on the human colony. Commander Rin stood before him, young and proud, expecting praise for his successful mission. "The operation was perfect, General," Rin said, his scales bright with excitement. "We captured 400 humans with minimal losses. We also secured valuable resources and technology." Keth nodded slowly, scrolling through the report on his screen. "Casualties? Only 12 of our soldiers. The humans barely fought back. They are as weak as the report said. And the prisoners? Adults mostly. Workers for the mines." Rin paused, and his chest puffed up with pride. "I also captured 4 young ones. Human children. I thought they would be useful for negotiations, easy to control. Their parents will do anything to get them back." General Keth stopped scrolling. His 4 hands became very still. The room seemed to grow colder. For a long moment, he did not speak. He did not move. He did not even seem to breathe. "You took what?" His voice was barely a whisper. Rin blinked, confused by the reaction. "Children, General. 4 human children. I thought it was clever. They are small and weak. They will cause no trouble. And their value as hostages is—" "Stop talking." Keth stood up. His scales, normally a deep purple, were turning pale. Among the Vorath, this was a sign of extreme fear. Rin had never seen his general afraid of anything. He took a step back without thinking. "General, is something wrong?" Keth walked to the window and looked out at the stars. His reflection showed a face that had aged 10 years in 10 seconds. When he spoke again, his voice was hollow. "How old are these children?" "I do not know exactly. Young, between 8 and 12 Earth years, I think." Keth closed his eyes. "Do you know anything about humans, Commander? Anything real? I know they are physically weak, short lives, soft bodies. They feel pain easily and fear death, like all prey species." "Prey species." Keth laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Humans are not prey, Commander. Humans are what happens when prey decides to fight back. They evolved on a planet so dangerous that 99% of all species that ever lived there went extinct." He turned to face Rin, and his yellow eyes were burning with a mix of fear and anger. Their planet has extreme temperatures, natural disasters, poisonous plants, and predators everywhere. And humans did not just survive there. They conquered it. They became the apex predator of a death world. Do you understand what that means? Rin's confidence was fading. They are still physically weak compared to us. Physical strength means nothing to humans. They hunt in groups. They use tools. They never stop coming after their target. Keth walked closer, towering over the young commander. And their children? Their children are not weak versions of adults. They are survival machines. They have faster reflexes than adults. They heal from injuries that would kill us. They fear almost nothing because they have not yet learned what they should fear. He grabbed Rin by the arm and pulled him toward a computer terminal. Let me show you something, Commander. Something classified. Keth entered his security codes and pulled up a file. The screen filled with images and reports. Rin's scales began to pale as he read. The Drekkar incident, Keth said. 40 years ago, a Drekkar warlord kidnapped 6 human children to use as slaves. Within 1 month, 3 of those children had escaped and sent a distress signal. Within 2 months, the entire Drekkar fleet was destroyed. Not defeated, destroyed. The humans did not stop until every ship was burning metal. He pulled up another file. The Morak situation. A Morak scientist captured human children for experiments. The humans responded by blockading the entire Morak system for 3 years. 3 years. The Morak species almost died from starvation before they surrendered the scientist. Another file. The Venthian mistake. A Venthian noble took 1 human child as a pet. Just 1. The Venthian noble was dead within a week, not from human soldiers. The child killed him herself. She was 9 years old. She used a piece of broken glass and waited until he was sleeping. Rin was shaking now. But they are just children. 7. Human children grow up playing games where they hunt each other. They watch stories about monsters and learn to laugh at fear. They bond with predator animals and call them pets. They fall down, break bones, and get back up to play again. Keth grabbed Rin's face and forced him to look at the screen. They are not like our children, Commander. They are small warriors who have not yet learned their own limits. He let go and stepped back. And worst of all, you have taken them from their parents. Do you know what human parents become when their children are in danger? They become something that does not sleep, does not stop, does not negotiate, and does not forgive. They will tear apart this entire empire to get their children back. Rin fell to his knees. What do I do? You return those children immediately. You apologize. You pray to every god you know that the humans accept your surrender before their military arrives. Keth checked his computer. His face went even paler. Too late, he whispered. What? What is too late? The humans have already received a distress signal from the colony. Their 3rd fleet is mobilizing. Keth looked at Rin with something like pity. And Commander? One of those children you took? His name is Wu Jun. His father is Captain Wu Dae-sung of the UNSF Indomitable, the most decorated human military officer alive. Rin made a sound like a dying animal. You did not just take human children, Commander. Keth said quietly. You took that human son. You have killed us all. At that moment, on board the Dread Sovereign, 4 human children sat in their cell. They had stopped crying. They had stopped being scared. They were whispering to each other, pointing at guards, counting seconds between patrol rotations. Tay had already figured out that his small hands could fit through the food slot in the door. Hana had memorized the faces of every guard who passed. Yuna had noticed that the Vorath became sleepy at certain hours, and June had found a loose panel in the wall that led to the ventilation system. They were not acting like prisoners. They were acting like exactly what they were, survivors of a death world, preparing to fight back. Overseer Mora had been given a simple job. Watch the human children. Keep them fed. Keep them quiet. It should have been easy. It was not easy. She stood outside their cell during the 3rd night cycle, holding a tray of food. The children sat in a circle on the floor, talking quietly. When she opened the door, they all looked up at the same time, 8 small eyes, watching her with an intensity that made her scales itch. "Food time," Mora said, setting down the tray. "Eat. Then sleep." The oldest one, the female called Yuna, smiled at her. "Thank you, Overseer. You are very kind." It was a simple sentence, polite words. But something about the way the child said it made Mora uncomfortable. Humans smiled to show happiness, she knew, but this smile did not reach the girl's eyes. "Yes." "Well, eat your food." Mora backed toward the door. The smallest male, Tay, waved at her. She left quickly and locked the door behind her. 3 hours later, during the rest cycle, Mora was making her regular patrol when she noticed something strange. The cell was quiet. Too quiet. She looked through the small window. The children were gone. Mora's heart stopped. She fumbled with her communicator. "Security. The human children have escaped. I repeat, the prisoners have escaped." Alarms began to ring throughout the ship. In the security room, guards scrambled to check camera footage. They found the moment of escape. The small male, Tay, had dislocated his own thumb to slip his hand through the food slot. He had unlocked the door from outside, then popped his thumb back into place like it was nothing. He broke his own bone, a guard whispered in horror, and then fixed it, like it did not hurt. "Find them," Commander Rin screamed over the communications. "They are just children." How hard can it be? Very hard, it turned out. The Dread Sovereign was a large ship with many corridors and rooms. The guards were big. The ventilation shafts were small. The children had disappeared into the metal veins of the ship like ghosts. Guard Captain Voss led a team down Corridor 7. His weapon was ready. His eyes scanned every shadow. He felt foolish, hunting children with military equipment, but after hearing what General Keth had said about humans, he was taking no chances. "Movement ahead," one of his soldiers reported. Voss raised his fist, signaling everyone to stop. They listened. Somewhere in the darkness, there was a small sound, like breathing or laughing. "Human children," Voss called out, trying to sound calm. "We will not hurt you. Come out now, and this will be easy." Silence. Then, from the ventilation shaft above them, a small face appeared. It was the female, Hana. She looked down at them with curious eyes, like she was studying insects. "Hello," she said softly. Then she dropped something. It was a fire suppression canister from the ship's emergency system. It hit the floor and exploded into a cloud of white foam. The guards could not see. They stumbled into each other, shouting and confused. When the foam cleared, Hana was gone. And so was one of their communication devices. "She took my radio," a guard shouted. "A child took my radio." Voss felt something cold in his stomach. Fear. Real fear. In another part of the ship, Tay was crawling through the ventilation system. He was small enough to move quickly and quietly. Below him, through metal grates, he could see guards running past. None of them looked up. Adults never looked up. He found the room he was looking for. The engine control center. Only 2 guards inside, both looking at screens and talking nervously about the escaped prisoners. Tay waited. He was patient. His scout leader back home had taught him that patience was the greatest weapon. So he waited until one guard left to use the bathroom. Then he dropped down behind the remaining guard, silent as a shadow. The guard turned just in time to see a small human child smiling at him. Then Tay's arm was around his throat, squeezing the pressure points exactly the way his self-defense teacher had shown him. The guard struggled, but Tay held on. Within seconds, the guard collapsed unconscious. Tay dragged him into a corner and took his access card. "June," he whispered into the stolen radio. "I have engine room access." "What now?" In a storage closet on Deck 4, June was working on a stolen data pad. His fingers moved fast across the screen. Human children learned computers early. By age 10, most could hack basic systems. The Vorath had not expected this. Good work, Tay, June replied. Yuna is in position near the communications array. Hana is watching the main corridors. We execute in 5 minutes. What are we doing exactly? June smiled in the darkness. We are going to stop this ship and call for help. Dad taught me that when you cannot win a fight, you change the game. 5 minutes later, chaos erupted across the Dread Sovereign. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red. The hyperdrive made a terrible grinding sound, and then went silent. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel and floated dead in space. In the communications room, Yuna had locked the door from inside. She was broadcasting on all frequencies. This is Yuna Kim of the human colony Kepler 442b. We are 4 children being held prisoner on a Vorath military vessel. Our coordinates are attached to this signal. Please help. Repeating, please help. The message went out into space. Over and over. Yuna had set it to loop automatically. Commander Rin stood on the bridge, watching his perfect mission fall apart. His scales were almost white with fear. The children did this, his first officer reported. They sabotaged the engines. They sent a distress signal. I know what they did, Rin screamed. Find them, catch them. They are small humans. Sir, we have found one of them. Where? The medbay. All 4 are there. They have barricaded the doors. Rin ran to the medbay level himself. He found 20 guards standing outside the sealed doors. None of them willing to go in. What are you waiting for? He demanded. Break down the door. Sir, a guard said, his voice shaking. They have taken medical equipment. Sharp things. And they turned off the lights inside. They are waiting for us, in the dark. Rin looked through the small window in the door. He could see nothing but blackness. But somewhere in that darkness, he heard something that made his blood freeze. Humming. Soft, childish humming. A human song. They are not afraid, the guard whispered. Sir, they are not afraid of us at all. The small one. The boy. He smiled at me. He smiled. Rin backed away from the door. On his communicator, he received a message from General Keth. Human military vessels detected. Multiple warships. They will arrive in 6 hours. 6 hours. Rin looked at the barricaded medbay door. At the darkness behind it. At the small, fearless monsters inside. He had never felt so terrified in his life. And somewhere in that darkness, June was indeed smiling. His father was coming. All they had to do was survive a few more hours. For children of Earth, that was easy. They were built to survive. Captain Wu Dae-sung was in his quarters when the message arrived. He was looking at a photograph of his son, thinking about the spring festival he had missed. He had promised June he would be there. He had broken that promise. His communicator beeped. He answered it without looking away from the photo. Captain, his first officer said, we have received an emergency broadcast from Kepler 442b. The colony was attacked by Vorath forces. Dae-sung stood up slowly. Casualties? Unknown, sir. But there is something else. We intercepted a distress signal from a Vorath ship. It was sent by human children who were taken prisoner. His blood went cold. Children? 4 of them, sir. They identified themselves by name. One of them is, tell me, Wu Jun, sir. Your son is on that ship. For a moment, Dae-sung could not breathe. The world became very small and very quiet. His hands began to shake. Not with fear, with something much more dangerous. Rage. Pure, burning, endless rage. Contact UNSF Command, he said, and his voice was like ice. Tell them to mobilize the Third Fleet, every ship, every soldier. Tell them we are going to war. Sir, the Third Fleet is meant for full-scale planetary conflicts. This is one ship. I know what it is. Dae-sung turned to face his officer. His eyes were terrifying. My son is on that ship, and I am going to take it apart piece by piece until I get him back. Now send the message. Within hours, the Third Fleet was assembled. 7 battleships, 2 carriers, 43 support vessels. the largest military force humans had moved in 20 years. Ambassador Lin from the Galactic Council contacted the fleet. Her face appeared on the main screen, confused and worried. Captain Wu. This response seems excessive. The Vorath took 4 children. Surely a diplomatic solution. Ambassador, Dae-sung interrupted. With respect, diplomacy ended when they took our children. If the Council wishes to help, they can stay out of our way. The other species are watching. They are afraid. Good. They should be. He ended the call. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. On the Dread Sovereign, Commander Rin was trying to maintain control. His ship was dead in space. His engines were broken. His communications were hijacked. And 4 human children were holding his medbay hostage with improvised weapons. Sir, his first officer reported, long-range sensors are detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching. Many ships. Very large ships. Rin felt sick. How many? At least 50, sir. They will arrive in approximately 3 hours. 50 ships? For 4 children? It appears so, sir. Rin looked around his bridge. His crew was terrified. They had heard the stories now. Everyone had heard the stories. Human parents were coming, and they were bringing an army. Try to contact them, Rin ordered. Tell them we want to negotiate. We will return the children unharmed. The communications officer worked his console. A moment later, a face appeared on screen. Captain Wu Dae-sung looked at Rin with eyes that held no mercy, no patience, and no fear. I am Commander Rin of the Vorath. I know who you are, Dae-sung said. His voice was calm. That made it worse. You took my son. You took children from their families. You have one chance to survive this. Put down your weapons. Open your airlocks. Surrender completely. Captain, please, we can discuss. There is nothing to discuss. You have 3 minutes. For every minute after that, I will destroy one section of your ship. If my son or any of those children are hurt, I will not leave enough of your vessel for archaeologists to study. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning. The screen went black. Rin turned to his crew. Battle stations. We will fight. We are Vorath warriors. No one moved. Did you hear me? I said battle stations. His first officer stepped forward. Sir, we have 50 enemy warships approaching. We have no engines. Our weapons are at 30%. And we are holding human children hostage. He pulled out his sidearm and placed it on the floor. I will not die for your mistake. One by one, other crew members put down their weapons. Rin watched his command fall apart. He reached for his own weapon, but strong hands grabbed him from behind. His own guards were restraining him. Open communications, the first officer ordered. Tell the humans we surrender. Tell them the children are unharmed. In the medbay, June heard the announcement through the ship's speakers. Surrender. The Vorath were surrendering. He looked at his friends. Yuna was holding a metal rod, ready to fight. Tae had bandages wrapped around his knuckles. Hana was watching the door with steady eyes. It is over, June said softly. My dad is here. Yuna lowered her weapon. Her hands were shaking now that the danger was passing. We actually did it. We survived. We did more than survive, Tae said with a tired smile. We fought back. We fought back. The medbay doors opened. Human soldiers in combat armor rushed in, weapons raised. When they saw the 4 children standing there, dirty and tired but unbroken, they stopped. Clear, a soldier shouted. The children are safe. More soldiers entered. Behind them came a man in a captain's uniform. His face was hard, his eyes searching. When he saw June, everything changed. The hardness melted. The soldier became a father. June, Dae-sung whispered. Dad. June ran to his father. Dae-sung dropped to his knees and caught his son in his arms, holding him so tight it almost hurt. His body was shaking. The most feared captain in the fleet was crying in front of his soldiers, and not one of them looked away with anything but respect. I am sorry, Dae-sung said, his voice breaking. I am so sorry I was not there. It is okay, Dad. June hugged him back just as tight. I knew you would come. I always knew. I knew you would come. The other children were reunited with rescue teams who would take them to their parents. Yuna finally let herself cry. Tay laughed, and could not stop laughing. Hana simply closed her eyes and breathed. Outside, the Vorath ship was surrounded by human warships. Commander Rin was taken into custody, his hands bound. As soldiers led him past Captain Wu, Rin looked at the human with something like wonder. You brought 50 ships, Rin said. For children. Just children. Daesung looked at him with cold eyes. They are not just children. They are our children. And for them, we would bring 1,000 ships. We would bring every ship humanity has ever built. We would burn the galaxy to ash and rebuild it from nothing. He leaned closer, and his voice dropped to a whisper. Remember that. Tell your people, if they ever touch our children again, there will be no surrender next time. There will be no survivors. Only lessons. Rin was led away, understanding finally what humans truly were. Not a weak species, not prey, something far more terrifying. Parents. General Keth stood before the Galactic Council. The great chamber was filled with representatives from 100 different species. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no solid form at all. All of them were watching him with curiosity and fear. He was here to apologize. To explain. To make sure his people survived what was coming. Members of the council, Keth began, his voice echoing in the massive hall. I come before you, representing the Vorath Empire. We have committed a grave error. We captured human civilians, including children. We have returned them unharmed. And we offer our deepest apologies to humanity and the United Nations Space Federation. The human representative, a woman named Director Song, stood at her podium with a face of stone. She said nothing. She did not need to. A council member from the Thry species raised a tentacle. General Keth, the Vorath are a powerful military force. Why do you apologize so completely? You outnumber the humans. Your technology is more advanced. Why surrender? Keth was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed softly. It was not a happy sound. Because we were afraid, he admitted. More afraid than we have ever been in our 2,000-year history. The chamber erupted in confused murmurs. The Vorath? Afraid? The greatest warriors in the sector? Keth continued. We thought humans were weak, short lives, soft bodies, emotional minds. We thought their children would be easy targets. We thought wrong. He pressed a button on his podium, and a holographic display appeared above the council floor. It showed security footage from the Dread Sovereign. The representatives watched as 4 small figures moved through the ship like shadows. They watched Tay break his own thumb and continue without pause. They watched Hana drop into a group of armed guards with nothing but a foam canister. They watched June hack into ship systems designed to be unhackable. They watched Yuna broadcast a distress signal while surrounded by enemies. These are children, Keth said. Human children. Between 8 and 12 years old. They escaped armed guards, sabotaged a military vessel, and held a defended position for hours while waiting for rescue. They did not cry. They did not beg. They fought. They won. The chamber was silent, and then their parents came. Keth changed the display. Now it showed the human Third Fleet. 50 warships hanging in space like a wall of steel and fire. They sent 50 ships. Not because they needed 50 ships. Because they wanted to make a statement. A promise. A threat. He turned off the display and faced the council directly. Let me tell you what humans are. They are not weak. They evolved on a planet so dangerous that most species could not survive there for a day. They hunt in groups. They never give up. They bond with their young so strongly that harming a child turns normal humans into something unstoppable. His voice grew heavy. I have conquered worlds. I have destroyed fleets. I have never, ever felt fear like I felt when I learned children were taken. Because I knew what was coming. and nothing in the universe could stop it. Director Song finally spoke. General Keth, the UNSF accepts your apology, but we require more than words. Name your terms. Full reparations to the colony, medical care for all affected families, and Commander Rin will be tried under both Vorath and human law. Agreed. All of it. There is one more thing. Director Song looked around the chamber. We propose a new galactic law. The Protection of Human Offspring Act. It will make harming, capturing, or threatening human children a capital crime under council law. Any species that violates this law will face immediate and unified response from all council members. A representative from the Kelvin Collective raised an objection. This seems extreme. Many species have laws protecting their young. Why should humans receive special treatment? General Keth turned to face the Kelvin representative. Because the alternative is worse. You do not understand what humans become when their children are threatened. I have seen the records. I have watched what happened to species that harmed their young. The Drekar are gone. The Morax nearly starved. A Venthian noble was killed by a 9-year-old girl with a piece of broken glass. He stepped forward, his voice rising. This law is not to protect humans. It is to protect everyone else. It is to protect you from making the same mistake we almost made. If you harm human children, they will not stop. They will not forgive. They will not negotiate. They will chase you across the galaxy, through time itself if they must. And they will destroy everything you have ever loved. Not because they are cruel, because that is what their species does. That is what makes them human. The chamber was completely silent. Director Song nodded. We call for a vote. The vote was unanimous. Every species, even those who had never met humans, voted yes. The Protection of Human Offspring Act became galactic law that day. Later, in a private meeting room, General Keth sat across from Captain Wu Dae-sung, two warriors from different worlds, sharing a drink in uncomfortable silence. Your son is impressive, Keth finally said. He has your spirit. He has his mother's brains, Dae-sung replied. That is what saved him. You must be very proud. I am terrified. Dae-sung took a long drink. Every parent is terrified. From the moment they are born, we are afraid for them. We imagine every danger. We prepare for every threat, and we know, deep in our hearts, that if anyone ever hurts them, we will become something we do not recognize. Keth nodded slowly. Among my people, children are raised by the community. The bond is distributed, shared. We do not understand your way. It is not logical, Dae-sung agreed. It is love, and love makes us dangerous. They sat in silence for a while longer. I have a question, Keth said. When you brought your fleet, when you surrounded our ship, if we had not surrendered, if we had harmed the children, what would you have done? Dae-sung looked at him with eyes that held the weight of stars. I would have burned your empire to the ground. Every ship, every station, every planet. I would have hunted your species across the universe until there was nothing left but dust and memory. And then I would have done the same to anyone who tried to stop me. He said it simply, calmly, like stating a fact about weather. I believe you, Keth whispered. Months later, on Kepler 442b, the colony had been rebuilt. The spring festival was happening again. Lights filled the sky. Music played. Children ran through the streets with glowing sticks. June stood with Yuna, Tae, and Hana near the same food stalls where they had been taken. They were different now, older in ways that had nothing to do with time. They had seen things, done things, survived things. But tonight, they were just children again. Eating sweet rice cakes, watching fireworks, being young. A Vorath diplomatic ship passed overhead, lights blinking peacefully. Inside the ship, a young Vorath officer looked down at the festival. He saw children playing. His scales shivered. Those are humans, he said to himself. Those small ones. His superior, an older Vorath who had served during the incident, nodded grimly. Yes, Remember them. Remember what their parents did for them. Remember what they did for themselves. He put a hand on the young one's shoulder. And pray you never give them a reason to show you what else they can do. The young officer swallowed hard and looked away. Down below, June looked up at the Vorath ship. He smiled and waved. Just a friendly gesture. Just a child, being polite. But somewhere in that smile was a promise. A warning. A truth that every species in the galaxy was learning. Humans were not to be underestimated. Not the adults, and especially not the children. Because human children were not weak. They were not helpless. They were survivors of a death world. Raised by survivors. Loved by survivors. And love, as the galaxy was learning, was the most dangerous force in the universe.